to look at these questions. First question here is from Linda and KL. And let me just take a look at this page here. Linda and KL asks, I really feel that I play it too safe, but is it bad to play it too safe? Okay, and the answer is no. It's not bad to play it too safe, but you just got to understand what the result of playing it too safe is, okay? So, is it bad to play too safe? And I'm going to say it's not bad to play it too safe, but you have to understand what the result will be by playing it too safe, which means that you will never be too sad, but you'll never be too happy either if you play it too safe. If you don't understand something, if you don't like your job, playing it safe means I just stay with it. Why? Because, that's the job. I don't want to do anything else, right? Come on, man, right? Playing it safe means that if you're not in a very good situation, what eventually happens is you will never get too high and you'll never get too low. You'll just kind of be in that neutral zone. But one thing I do know about human beings is there's only so much we can do before it's too boring, or you're not satisfied or feeling content with life. So you can play it safe, but if you play it too safe, you'll never reach that upper echelon of joy that human beings really look for. Okay. Thank you so much, Linda, for that question. Let's go to the next question here. It's from Hui Teng in PJ. Okay. Says, when I get into fights with my family, we all just avoid it. Interesting. And then things get back to normal. And then it feels like nothing happened. Question is, do we have to resolve it? And this is a great question because sometimes, I'm going to tell you this though. In some instances, avoiding is okay if they are small and insignificant things. In these situations, yes, they just pass over, right? Like for instance, you're eating candy, it's your favorite candy, and someone eats the last one. You don't have to resolve it. Excuse me, you ate the last candy. No, some things are pointless. But you can't take that and put it over everything. And this is why some things can be avoided and some things can't. And the one thing I really want you to understand is, if there are things that are pretty significant, and the problems are significant, and you avoid them, what happens is it begins to build up, and you actually end up fighting more often. Why? Because people have or hold that resentment. When does it come up? It doesn't come up when you're unhappy. When something bad happens or when you do something wrong, that's when it pops up. And if you don't resolve it, it builds and builds. And what happens? Explosion. I'm serious. Explosion happens. And that's something you have to understand is, this is why when you have to kind of face those things, it's better to talk about it, especially things that are somewhat significant where it's affecting people more. The insignificant things, I would still do it, but even if you avoid those things, it doesn't really make a big difference with those ones. Yeah, but some things, they can't be avoided. And they will build, and you will fight more. And when the fights happen, it'll be very, very explosive. Okay? So thank you so much, Hui Tang, for that question. Let's go move over to Chris in JB, right? All the way in Johor. And Chris says, what should I do if the majority of people in a meeting, like superiors, prefers the conventional same old way instead of trying something new? Okay, so this is a very difficult question, mainly because you have no power over it, right? You have no power, and everyone wants to do it the conventional way, which means there are several options you can take. For instance, when you say the superiors always want to do it the conventional way, the good thing is that it's safe, right? But the hard part is when you see a major problem happening, and the people who are very, very conservative, the biggest problem is they will not change until they see a major, massive problem, and by that time it's really too late. Which means that if I were, there's several different options you can do. Number one is you can take them one by one aside. Why? Because a lot of people gain power from groups. So let's just say, if I say I don't agree, but then 10 other people say they don't agree, then I feel more empowered. That, oh, look, all these people agree with me. It's better to take them aside one by one and talk with them and get a better idea. Give them your ideas too. Because in a group sometimes, if a majority of them are like that, that power is too big in that setting, and it's better to separate them, talk to them one-on-one. If you are really unhappy with it, I do suggest finding a new place to go. I do. Yeah, I do. Because if there's nothing that's more difficult than living in a situation you're very unhappy in. Okay? So, of course, that would be a last case scenario, but I would definitely talk to the superiors individually first, talking about your situation. And then if that doesn't work, you'll have a choice of, can I live with this or not? Like, can I live in this situation at work or not? And if you can't, you might want to start looking for a new job or transfer to another department, or you could stay and just deal with it. And the good thing about, one good thing about that is the expectations will never be broken because you'll always know what to expect. Okay, let's take a look at another question. Thank you, Chris from JB. We're going to look at Fatima. Let's take a look at Fatima. Fatima Berlian Divosora. I'm thinking this person is from the Philippines. I'm assuming. Fatima Berlian Divosora. Okay. How to kill the giant inside that has been there ever since. Okay, so this giant inside has been there for a long time. You tried killing it, but it still comes back. Okay, so this seems it's a little bit vague, right? But one thing that has to happen is usually the giant comes in when you have these major situations, like major, massive situations, and you're like, no way, and the risk is too big, and that's why the giant is very big. What you need to start off with is you need to start chopping the giant down bit by bit with small issues, small problems that are not as significant, where the risk is not that high, and your giant actually is okay with you taking risks in. And when you kind of get to see things happening in a better way, and the giant's like, oh, it actually worked. Oh, that's interesting. Wow. So what happens is it's the same thing in life. In life, a lot of people will want to be traditional, do things the same way, but there's usually two ways that a person will change the way that they think. If the person is way too traditional, what happens is, like I said before, is everything needs to collapse before they'll open up to new ideas. There's one way. Or the second way is there'll be enough examples for them to see, like, whoa, this actually works. Like, for instance, people who are thinking about gamers, right, in esports and like making money off YouTube, if there's never an example to show how great it works, then no one would ever believe it. But if someone says, oh yeah, there's a 4-year-old, 6-year-old making $300,000 per episode, they're making $26 million per year, and like, what? That's crazy, right? Or someone says, yeah, guess what? This esports guy, by the time she was 19, she made $3 million. That's nuts. And the more and more examples you get, the more and more it changes people's minds, right? And one thing that I do think, especially if you're a person of faith, prayer is a very big thing because, I've talked about this before, is the moment you get into a really stressful situation, like a big problem you face, your prefrontal cortex shuts off, which means emotion, reasoning, learning is all shutting off, which means your cognitive and executive functions are no longer working. Prayer reignites that area where you can reason with yourself much better. And that's something that you can start working as an actual exercise. When you get into that big situation, you should pray. Or if you're not someone of faith, you should meditate at least. And if you meditate, what happens? You're going to reignite the prefrontal cortex. Your reasoning, your cognitive and executive function will come back, and you'll be able to reason properly with what you're going through. If that doesn't work, I would definitely find a good mentor, someone you can trust, not a best friend, because best friends usually don't give the best advice, but a mentor that will help you and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And a good mentor will start throwing questions at you, like, what do you think about this? And you have to reason it yourself, and it makes more sense, okay? So those are a couple of things that I do suggest that you think about as ideas. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Thank you, Fatima, for that wonderful question, too. Next question says, let's see, Rosarin. Rosarin. Oh, another from the Philippines. Rosarin Arnaldo. I'm always too worried to show something new because I'm always affected of what people will comment or say. Or maybe they'll say it's too inappropriate. Okay. So I'm not sure what the exact situation is because I haven't seen you actually propose new things or show new things. Okay. Because there are two parts to this that really need to be understood. Number one is how you present it makes a big difference too. It really does. If someone has no confidence in presenting, people are not going to accept it. That's just the way it is. There's a story of a pastor, right? And in this pastor has the words of truth, the words of God to save people, and every Sunday, no one comes to listen to him preach.
But every day as he walks out of church, there's a big lineup for this guy who's playing 3-card Monty, which is this con game. It's a con game. And you have to guess where the card is, and you're like, what, where is it? And people keep losing, but people are lined up. And after the day, he goes to the con guy and says, hey, how the heck are people going to you and they know it's a con, but they won't come to me even though I have the truth? And he says, it's because of confidence. So partly, Rosalind, part of it could be, depending on how you present it is one thing. Because if you're already worried about it, when you present it, you might be like, hi guys, so I had this idea. And you'd be like, the people be like, hey, okay, whatever. They'll already put you off. Or it could be in a situation like you said, you're more affected by what other people think. And the answer, like, one big thing that we need to get used to in life is that you can't get into the mindset that everyone has to accept everything you say or every idea you give. You just can't have that mindset. The moment you think everything must be accepted is the moment you've lost. Because then you never want to lose. Remember, what are you presenting? It's an idea. Does it have to be accepted? And the answer is no. Is it the right answer? In most cases, if we understand we don't have all knowledge and we don't know the full circumstance, we don't know. And we have to be okay with that idea not being accepted. Remember, an idea not being accepted is not you not being accepted. It's just the idea. Right? And of course, there could be other issues of how do they respond to your ideas, and that's another thing too. So we have to look at the full situation. I would have to know how confident you were, how prepared you were, or what were your superiors like, or the people around you. And that's something that we'd have to look out too. All right. Thank you so much, Rosalind. Let's go to the next question. Next question is from Venancio Jimenez III. This guy sounds like he's a rich dude. He's Venancio Jimenez III, right? How do we pray for a giant like China? Ooh, don't know where to start. Okay, so Venancio, I'm not sure if I'm assuming you're a person of faith because you're going to pray for them, right? And for China, we have to start at the core. And everything is about, if you look at the body too, when you have those zombie movies, how do you kill a zombie? Where do you shoot the zombie? In the head, because it's the most important part. And the people that need the most prayer are the ones making the decisions. You need to start with the top, because from the top, especially in China, if it's like a dictatorship communist state, everything is at the top, which means you have to pray for the top first, from the top down. Because honestly, if the power was with the people, like if it was a democratic society, then people's decisions and choices would actually make a big difference. But we see it doesn't. Where do you stop? You always start at the top. Because the top is where the decisions are made, especially in China, right? From the top, you pray for them to give them wisdom, pray for them to change their hearts, pray for them to do it in a better way. And if not, whether it's God's will or not, you want to change, if it's God's will, to change leadership. That's another thing that we can think about also. But definitely whenever you pray for anything, my best advice is you always start with the core or the most important part. And from there, it's much, much easier, right? You'll get a better idea. Because from the leader, then it goes to the people right under them, and the people right under them, and then the people right under them, right? And I would definitely start from the leadership. And then from the leadership, we can make, biggest changes can happen through leadership. All right. And that looks like the last question for today. Thank you so much, Venancio, and all the people who have given their questions. I'm very grateful and thankful that all of you have joined us today on the Lockdown Tuesday. I hope you guys had a wonderful time, realized something new about the story of David Goliath. And like I said, just subscribe and hit the bell. Oh, make sure you hit the bell on the YouTube channel so then you will get a notification when we go live streaming. Make sure you hit the like on the Facebook page and support us on Patreon. All right, everyone, have a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.